You're listening to episode 29 of Liz's Healthy Table.
Looking for a healthy new way to feed your family without the hassle and hype? Welcome to Liz's Healthy Table, where your host, registered dietitian nutritionist Liz Weiss, serves up fresh and flavorful recipes with a tasty side of science, good nutrition, and fun. Are you and your family ready for some wholesome food that tastes great too? Don't change that dial. Your food adventure starts here.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Today, I'm going to take you on a little field trip, and we're going to travel about a half a mile from my house in Lexington, Massachusetts, to Wilson Farm. And we're going there together for an episode on asparagus. It's one of my family's favorite vegetables. It's in season right now, and with the help of Jim Wilson, who's the head farmer and the co-owner of Wilson Farm, and the executive chef at Wilson Farm, Chef Raymond Ost, we're going to tell you all about this ancient vegetable, how it's grown and harvested, what it actually looks like when it's growing in the fields at Wilson Farms, and how to cook it up. So whether you love it roasted or grilled or blanched or sautéed, we have got you covered in this show. Asparagus, what do I love about it? Well, first of all, it's rich in nutrients. And if you listen to last week's show with Brierly Horton, where we talked about gut health and the microbiome, you might remember that we talked about asparagus as one of these really important prebiotic foods. Now, prebiotics, those are the high fiber foods that actually feed the good bacteria. So asparagus is just one of those amazing prebiotic foods. And so that's one reason why I love it. Of course, it's delicious. It's really versatile. And then it's packed with all sorts of nutrients like vitamin K, which is good for your bones, vitamin C, folate, so many great nutrients in this humble little vegetable. So together with the chef, I'm going to talk to you about a recipe actually that comes from the farm, which I made for asparagus salad with eggs and prosciutto. So you definitely want to stick around for that. It's made with this vinaigrette with basil and tarragon. And tarragon's one of those sort of, I would say, underappreciated herbs. This is a phenomenal recipe for the spring, even for summer, if you can get your hands on asparagus. So you're going to want to stick around for that recipe. I also have, by the way, it's on my blog. So in the show notes, I'll give you a link to that asparagus salad recipe. And then I've also got a recipe roundup, another blog post, 15 recipes from other dietitian bloggers. So I've got a link to that also in the show notes for today's asparagus episode. So Wilson Farm, I wish you could see it. It's been there since 1884. I've been shopping there since I moved to Lexington. I'm going to date myself, but back in 1992. So I've been going to Wilson's for a long time. I'm very lucky because right in my suburban backyard, I have this gorgeous farm. They grow a lot of their own produce. They also get the best produce. For some reason, they have an inside edge down at the markets, and the produce there is absolutely beautiful. So we're going to have Jim on the show. We're going to have Chef Ost on the show. And actually, you know what? I want to hear from you. If you like today's episode, let me know because, when zucchini's in season later in the summer, maybe we'll have them back on because, you know what happens when zucchini's in season? You end up, especially if you're growing it, with so much zucchini. What am I going to do with all that zucchini? So let me know if you like today's show and maybe we'll do a zucchini episode. Liz's Healthy Table is brought to you by my friends at superhealthykids.com, your one-stop shop for recipes, meal plans, cooking videos, and so many tips on feeding kids of all ages a healthy diet. My show is also brought to you by the Parents on Demand Network. It's an app filled with parenting podcasts, including shows like mine and shows like the Crunchy Supermom podcast. And that show is for moms who want to improve the health of their families through healthy eating, organic beauty, holistic health, self-care, and more. So you can learn all about the Crunchy Supermom show and many more if you just download the Parents on Demand app or check them out at parentsondemand.com. So, who loves asparagus? It's time to get digging. Jim Wilson, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Liz.
Well, I have to tell you, and I'm sort of laughing here because the other day I was sitting in my home office and I was typing up some questions for you and I was doing research on asparagus and I looked out my window and who do I see but Jim Wilson driving down my suburban street on a tractor. And I had to crack up. Like, what is it like being a farmer who lives in the suburbs? I mean, you're not an urban farmer. You're not a rural farmer. You are a suburban farmer. Tell us about that.
It's the best job in the world. My kids used to think it was really strange that we had a tractor in the driveway during lunchtime, but they kind of came around and thought it was kind of unique that we're the only one in the neighborhood with a tractor in the driveway.
It's better than a bathtub.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just not a good look. Anyway, so you're a farmer and you live in Lexington. You're my neighbor right outside of Boston. Tell us a little bit about Wilson Farm. When I moved to Lexington in 1992, the first thing everybody said was, oh, you have to go down to Wilson's to shop. So tell us about the history of Wilson Farm.
It was started by my great-grandfather in 1884, and he was an Irish immigrant. He came over here during the potato famine, like most, and he worked for his uncle on Bow Street, which is about 2 miles from here. He worked 7 years to pay off his passage. And once he paid off his passage, he rented this land that is currently the farm and the Pleasant Street property. And he started slowly, and we were exclusively wholesale for the first 50 years in existence. And when we saw that the trends were changing and all of a sudden produce was coming from different parts of the country, we realized we had to convert to retail to survive. And at that point, my dad and my uncle were young, and in 1954, we built our first retail store. And little by little, we've graduated from the first store in 54. We built the second store in 67. I remember that because I was going to my friend's bar mitzvah, and I was creosoting the frame, and I told my father I had to go to the bar mitzvah, and he said, no, not until you finish that damn frame.
What do you mean a frame? What is that?
The wood frame for the building.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then the store that you presently see was built in 96. And so each generation has had something new to contribute to the growth of the business.
And it's amazing because when you think about, so I moved here in 92 and I used to shop at the old store, which was a lot smaller. And what's been really cool over the years is just watching you guys grow and evolve, even with food trends. So for example, I am like the squeaky wheel in Lexington. And for years, Jim, I did bug you about having organic at the farm. And you'd say, we're all sustainable. We don't need organic. And then lo and behold, the organic table arrives. And now there's like so many great organic options. I see even like spiralized vegetables. Like you've kind of moved with the times. You have a CSA now. So you grow things, you change. Like I'm sure you've seen so much change over the years.
You don't survive if you don't listen to your customer. And, as trends change, you've got to stay with it or you perish. And that's really been one of the great things is because, I've been able to focus my energies on the farm and growing product. And my cousin Scott, who really oversees the retail operation, he's a great retailer. And, he listens to the employees who listen to the customers who give us the new trends that we need to move towards.
And then Liz Weiss rolls in, and boy, you all run. You run for the hills.
You're right. I do duck out.
You do. I haven't seen you in years. Where have you been, Jim? Oh, I'm hiding behind the potatoes. No, actually, maybe you're hiding behind the asparagus because that's what we're talking about today. I'm so excited to have you on because asparagus is in season. It's one of my favorite vegetables. I actually had a poll going on Facebook. Should we do an asparagus show or a rhubarb show? Because I knew both would be really popular at Wilson's this spring. And it was kind of neck and neck, but I said, all right, we're going with asparagus. So talk a little bit about asparagus. If you were walking in a field right now and the asparagus is growing, just for people who aren't really familiar with asparagus, other than what they find in the supermarket, what does it look like when you see it growing in a field?
It's funny, I just showed the pictures to my promotions department, and it's actually pretty boring. It looks like vacant soil, and the only thing you see is the spear shoot up as you see on your plate. That's the only thing that grows this time of year. And It's about a 6 to 8 week harvest season in this time of year. And what you have to do is every 24 hours you have to walk the entire field and cut any spears that are at the appropriate length and maturity. And I calculated for this interview, for 1 acre of asparagus, you have to walk approximately a linear mile every day, every 24 hours, to harvest that field. And we have between 8 and 9 acres. So somebody has to walk between 8 and 9 miles every day.
You're kidding. So does asparagus grow, and like in a 24-hour period, I heard it can grow 10 inches. Is that true?
That's correct.
So now once you harvest that spear, you snap it off, is it done for the season or does it kind of regenerate?
No, you'll get out of a crown, which are planted about every 12, 14 inches apart, you'll get between 8 and 10 spears during one season.
So what is a crown exactly?
Crown is just the root of the asparagus underground.
Okay, so one seed, say, produces this crown, and then you get 8 to 10 asparagus?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to do the math, Jim, because my math aptitude is at a second grade level. So you are talking my talk right now. I am following this. I can do this math. So you're walking the field, and that's a lot of walking. And it's not like you're seeing, this giant field filled with kale or a giant field filled with tomatoes. It's like a field with these spears just coming up out of the ground.
From a distance, it looks like it's nothing planted there.
Mm-hmm. So we're in season right now. It's growing in your fields. Is it something people can grow at home? Is that one of those vegetables that's easy to grow?
Yeah, it's relatively easy. Once you plant, we plant from crowns. You can plant from seed, which just takes longer. But we plant from crowns because they come quicker. And it would be about 3 years before you reach maximum production, and they should produce for another 15 years beyond there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Your biggest obstacle is weed control.
Weed control. The second biggest obstacle is if you don't have a green thumb, which is why I shop at Wilson Farms. I just can't do it myself.
It's a pretty hardy perennial. There's very little to it. I mean, it will need some fertilizer from time to time, but that's about it.
So it's hardy. It comes back every year then. What's the lifespan?
Usually about 15 years commercially. It'll produce longer than that, but the plant weakens after that point.
Okay. So you produce green asparagus. Do you also grow the purple and the white asparagus?
We don't grow the purple. That's just a different variety. And the white asparagus is the green asparagus that you have mounded soil around to blanch it.
Oh, tell me more.
You take soil around it, and as the spear, you'd hill it up. And it doesn't allow the plant to produce chlorophyll because there's no sunlight. And that's, therefore, the white color.
Oh, my gosh. You create a hill around it. Sun can't hit it. It's white. So you guys do grow that then?
No, it's awfully labor intensive.
I was going to say, yeah. So it's really like one of those specialty products, right?
Absolutely.
Is most of the asparagus in the U.S. grown in New Jersey, California? Where does most of it come from?
California and Washington State is the two biggest producers.
Okay. I was thinking...
Michigan's also big.
Okay. I don't know why I thought New Jersey. Well, tomatoes, obviously. That's a biggie, right?
Yep.
Okay. So asparagus, you, I'm sure, bring it home from the farm, especially this time of year when it's in season. What do you guys in your household like to do with asparagus? You've got 3 daughters. I know they're all grown now, but what would be some favorite ways that you guys enjoy asparagus?
My wife makes it delicious with some butter and some garlic and just steam it lightly. And the kids fight over it.
So she steams the asparagus and then just has a little bit of garlic. Maybe she just sort of sautés in butter and then drizzles that?
Exactly.
Oh, that sounds really good. Anything else? Any other kind of favorite recipe?
I've had it done on the grill. Virtually every way it works out.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk more to Chef Ost in a few minutes about what to do with asparagus because I got quite a few questions from my podcast posse. That's my closed group on Facebook. So people are itching to hear more about asparagus. So, Jim, when you were a kid and you're growing up, did you work at the farm and were you guys growing asparagus back in the day?
I did work at the farm from the time, basically since I could walk. I remember when I was a kid, we lived across the street and up the hill a little bit, and I used to walk down the hill and yell across the street because I was too young to cross Pleasant Street alone, yet the cashiers would come out, cross me, and then I could go to work.
Cute.
And I never had a weekend off until I went to college.
Wow. So what did you do? Like, what was your job, or did you just do everything?
Everything. At that time, we were really small, and we had, very few employees. And you worked in the field, you worked in the store, you did whatever had to be done.
And so how did you end up then becoming the farmer at the farm? I mean, you could have kind of gone in any direction, right?
I was the oldest of this generation, and I kind of got first pick, and I enjoyed the farm the most.
Just being out in the field, getting your hands dirty, driving that tractor, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Jim, anything else you want to say about our featured vegetable today, asparagus, before we let you off the hook?
No, I think you covered it.
Oh, I have a question. How many pounds of asparagus does Wilson Farms grow every year?
I don't have that number. It depends somewhat on the season, but I don't have that number in front of me.
But it's probably a lot.
It's significant, yes.
Mm-hmm. And you're growing it in New Hampshire, right? And also in Massachusetts?
All in New Hampshire.
Oh, you grow it all in New Hampshire. So if I sneak out into the fields down the street here in Lexington, I won't see
find
it.
it.
I won't find it. Okay. The other funny thing about Wilson Farms is that besides you, Jim, driving by in your tractor, when Belle the llama was alive, she used to get walked all the time, and she would also get walked in my neighborhood, in front of my house. And the boys, of course, would go crazy because it's kind of unusual to see a llama walking down the street.
Absolutely. I don't know if you want this story or not, but that Belle passed a year ago, April, and the girl who walked him was Karen. Mm-hmm. And Karen had suffered a traumatic brain injury as a teenager, and she took care of that llama like nobody else and would walk routinely around all the neighborhoods and stop and talk to anybody who would talk to her. Mm-hmm. And she had some physical issues of her own, and she couldn't come to see the llama for 2 or 3 month period. And she finally got released from the rehab one day in April. All she wanted to do was she came to the farm in a wheelchair. She spent the afternoon with the llama. The llama was covered in fur. The two of them were petting each other and having a great time. The next morning, the llama laid down and never got up again.
No.
That's the true story.
Oh, my gosh. So Belle
waited for Karen.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
It was written up in the Boston Globe.
Oh, my gosh. Because I know Karen. I see her once in a while, and I knew Belle, and now I'm like in tears.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story.
You hear those stories in movies, and because you kind of think they're hokey, but that one's true.
Oh, my gosh. Belle was a guy, not a girl.
No, Belle was a girl.
Oh, Belle was a girl. Okay.
The way we knew it, we dated it. She was born in the barn here, and it was when Beauty and the Beast was released. She was the new character. That's where she got her namesake.
Oh, that's cute. Now, you don't have a new llama down at the farm, do you?
No, not yet. We're thinking about it.
All right. Well, I'm going to lobby you. I'm going to say, get a new llama, Jim. It's time. It's time. You made me cry. The least you can do is get a new llama.
Okay.
Jim Wilson, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Liz.
So I just told Jim, do not hide from me the next time I come to Wilson's. I do have lots of ideas, and requests certainly. But, oh my gosh, Wilson Farms is the best. Before I bring Chef Ost on, I did want to just tell you that I do have a roundup of asparagus recipes on the blog, as well as a recipe for asparagus salad with eggs and prosciutto, which was inspired by a recipe on the Wilson Farm website. So head on over. And that roundup, oh my gosh, I have got over a dozen recipes. I'm going to just tell you about a couple of them. One is from Holly Granger, and Holly was actually a guest on the show a few months ago talking about lunch boxes for kids. And she has a recipe for asparagus, zucchini, and carrot ribbon salad. So super fun, super cute. You kind of shave the veggies into ribbons, and it's really great. It's a good one for families, especially kids. Oh, Sharon Palmer, the plant-powered dietitian. She, I believe, was on episode 4 of Liz's Healthy Table. And Sharon has a recipe on her website. It's a vegan recipe for Tuscan asparagus farro salad. So you got the grains, you got the asparagus, kind of Italian inspired. That is a phenomenal recipe. So I'll link to that in the roundup. Another one is from Kelly Jones from Eat Real, Live Well, and she has a recipe for creamy asparagus and pea risotto. And as far as I'm concerned, nothing says spring like peas and asparagus. So just a little teaser, but I really want to dig deeper into prep tips, recipes, easy ways to get asparagus onto your table. So let's all welcome Chef Raymond Ost from Wilson Farm onto the podcast. Chef Raymond Ost, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I was just talking to Jim, and I've known Jim probably since 1992. You I see at the farm, but I've never officially met you. So when I'm down there, probably tomorrow, I'm going to come say hello to you.
Please do.
Yes.
I'm very happy to meet you one time.
Yeah, we need to meet. So
Sure.
You are a master French chef.
Yes.
What does that mean to be a master French chef, and how did you end up working at Wilson Farm?
Well, I became a master chef in 93. I was about 35 years old, and you only become a master chef if your peers, the other master chefs, invite you in that little close association, if you want. You have to basically be a very good chef and do good food. The only difference is some of us, like me, I had to cook for 180 master chefs of France at the Meridian Hotel in Boston in 93. So I was at that time the executive chef at the Meridian Hotel. So we had the conference of the Master Chefs of France in Boston for 3 days, and they all came to the Meridian Hotel, and that's how I became a master chef after all that brouhaha, I will call.
Okay. I like how you say brouhaha. It sounds a lot better than when I say it. Where are you from, Chef? Where are you from originally?
I'm from the region of Alsace, between the border between France and Germany in Strasbourg. And I'm been traveling since I'm 18. So I left my town at 18 and became a cook and then a chef with the Meridian Hotel chain.
Okay.
And I traveled throughout the world. So I went to, example, Martinique, Germany, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Vancouver, Montreal, Boston, San Diego, Newport Beach, and now I'm in Boston again.
Wow. So you work at Wilson Farm and you're surrounded by beautiful, fresh produce. God. I mean, this must be like a chef's dream to be embedded in that environment every day.
Exactly. Yeah, I had a restaurant for 18 years. It was called Sandrine's in Cambridge. And then I sold it. And then we met with Wilson Farm. And my daughter said, why don't you talk with them again? I said, I don't want to work for a farm. And she says, why don't you try? And we came up to an agreement, and here I am since 3.5 years, and I'm loving it.
Wow. I can't believe you've been there that long.
Yes. It's been a revealing journey, I can say, because I have never seen so many fresh products that are really, really fresh. You get fresh products on the market and everything, but those are from the ground to my kitchen. It's amazing, and it works very well, and you cannot get better than that.
Wow. So we're talking about asparagus today.
Yes.
And
it's right now the season.
It is. And so when you get that asparagus, obviously you're getting it, it's been picked, and it ends up in your kitchen. But when the consumer is at the supermarket shopping for asparagus, what should they look for? I mean, obviously you don't want a limp asparagus, right?
No, of course not. No, but when you take an asparagus, the first thing you do, you check if it's rigid and crispy. And then, the bottom needs to be fresh. It doesn't need to be, like piece of wood on the bottom. If it's a piece of wood, it's already an old asparagus. If it's still fresh, a little rough, that's okay. You can break it up once you peel them or once you, cut them down. But normally an inch, not even an inch, you have to cut down. If you have to cut down more than that, they're old asparagus for one thing. And then when you peel them, they need to give you water. If they don't give you water, that means they're old again. And there is 4 kinds of asparagus that maybe you don't know about it. There is the wild asparagus, there's the green asparagus, there is the white asparagus, and there's the purple asparagus.
Yeah, I talked to Jim about that a little bit.
Yes.
He told me that you guys just grow the green asparagus.
Yes, because it's difficult to get the purple one. The purple one happens to be in between the white and the green. So the white one is under the ground, The purple one is almost out of the ground, and then the green one is the one that's out of the ground.
Okay. All right.
And then the wild asparagus, unfortunately, can't get them here, but they're from the region of France, south of France, Spain, and from the Maghreb, from Morocco, the Arabic countries over there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only pick wild, and they're very skinny, but very tasty too.
So when you were growing up, did you ever pick wild asparagus?
Yes, I did. Yeah. It's amazing. Just like that. It's amazing. Those are very, very good.
I have a closed group on Facebook. I call it My Podcast Posse. And I had some of the folks on that page say, hey, I have some questions, for the chef. And so I figured I'd ask you now. So one of my posse members, Katie, she said that she's curious about the best method to figure out how to trim or snap off the bottom. And in which you sort of talked about, you cut it, you could snap it off. But she said, what do you do with those bottoms? She says she thinks you could probably use it for stock, but is there anything else you could do with it? What would you do with the bottoms?
The bottom, you don't do anything with it because they have no tastes. It's going to be all bitter. The bottom is like wood, basically. So you don't get nothing, no juice out of wood, unless you, marinate it for a little while. But it's time consuming and it's not worth anything. Okay,
so maybe compost. If you compost, you could add that to the compost.
Exactly.
And then what if you have a lot of asparagus? Like, it's in season and can you blanch it and freeze it? Like if you wanted to freeze it, what would you do?
No, what I suggest is, depending on what color it is, you can cook them and make it out of a soup, like with no cream, no nothing, and just boil it down with, onions, shallots, whatever, and make a good soup out of it and then freeze it. And then when you need it, you just take it out and finish it with a blender and a little bit of cream or a little bit of butter or something, whatever you like, just to make it nice and smooth. And, you'll have a good soup for the winter if you want like that.
Okay. I like that idea. Yeah. So you can do it all spring and then you'll have it through the year.
The only problem is the white asparagus. The white asparagus, you can do nothing. You have to eat them right away. That's what we have in Alsace. We produce white asparagus, and right now it's the season. We don't eat the skinny one. We let them grow, and we eat them like the big ones, the big fingers, asparagus, and we have to peel them all. And now they invented a machine over there, and now you can just you go to the farm, you ask for a pound or 2 pounds of asparagus, they put it through the machine, you go home and you cook them and you're done. It's amazing how that works. But that's the only way you can cook a white asparagus.
Okay.
I see some in restaurants or whatever throughout Boston and throughout, my traveling, and people think, don't peel the white asparagus. Well, if you don't peel them, they're stringy and they're not good. So that's a very different way of treating white asparagus. You have to peel them.
Okay. So I am totally I love asparagus, and I will do a variety of things.
Yes.
I will grill it. I will saute it and add it to pasta. I will add it to salads. I'll blanch it. And I do a whole variety of things with it. What's your favorite thing to do with asparagus? Like if you're at home and you're just hanging out, what's your favorite thing?
Me, I take white asparagus and peel them, and I just blanch them, and then I eat it with a little bit of prosciutto or black forest ham that I have in my house. And then I also do like a béarnaise sauce, like a tarragon dressing or sauce or whatever, and I'll eat it like that. Like tonight, example, I have my cousin that came in from France, and I'm going to have some asparagus. And tonight I'm doing an asparagus with a tomato sauce vierge, which is a fresh tomato sautéed with garlic and fresh herbs, and then pour it on top of the white asparagus with a little bit of a dazzle of white reduction of balsamic, and it's so good.
I'll come over. I'm coming.
Please.
I'm inviting myself. So
I love the soup. You mix it together with spinach, and you have a beautiful asparagus and spinach soup that is wonderful too, that you can eat every night almost.
And you puree that, right?
Yeah, you puree it. The only thing is you keep the tops and you put them as a garnish, and you just roast them a little and put them on top when you finish the soup. Or do them with an egg, a poached egg or something, and let the egg come over and just eat it like that. It's wonderful.
Oh, yum. And I love the idea of saving some of those little spears and roasting them.
Yes.
Just little olive oil, salt, pepper, throw it in the oven for a bit.
Yes.
And that's so playful. That's super fun.
It is.
I love that idea.
You know what's in the season soon now also is morels. So if you cut the asparagus in, 2-inch pieces and you have them, you blanch them and then you put them in a pan, saute them with a little shallots and then the morels in there, and you deglaze it with a little bit of white wine and brandy. I mean, that's wonderful too. I mean, it's a nice side dish with a steak or even like that.
Hey, you know what? When people hear the term blanch, so when I blanch asparagus, I might take a pan. I might not do a big saucepan. I might just do a shallow pan, fill it with water, salt, bring it to a boil. Then I'll add my trimmed asparagus spears to that, and then I let it blanch for maybe 3 minutes. But here's my question. Should you let the water come back to a boil and then start your timer, or should you just put the asparagus in that boiling water and start your timer at 3 minutes?
No. You start your timer when it boils.
When it comes back to a boil.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I really wanted to clarify that. So there was a recipe that Melissa, your assistant, sent me for asparagus salad with eggs and prosciutto.
Yes.
So I made that salad, and I want to just share it with my listeners and have you kind of chime in here. Okay. So you call for 24 asparagus spears, which was like a big bunch, and it doesn't have to be exact. And I trim them and then I blanch them, and I did it like 3-4 minutes, and then I rinsed them under cold water. I dried them, and so they were just cold and they were sort of crisp tender.
Yes.
And then I took a small shallot and I thinly sliced it. And here's what I like to do with raw onion and shallot, and tell me if you agree. I'll put the sliced shallot in a bowl, and then I'll add a little bit of acid, maybe a little bit of lemon juice, and just let that shallot kind of pickle a little bit. To me, it takes away from that harsh flavor. Of shallot, right?
Yeah.
Am I on the right track? Yeah.
Yes, you are on the right track.
Okay. And then on your website, you had this dressing that you made with white wine vinegar, fresh basil, fresh tarragon, Parmesan cheese, grated, Dijon mustard, honey, garlic, salt, and pepper. Oh my goodness. That fresh herb combination of the tarragon, which I think is very underappreciated.
People don't know about tarragon, what it does to a dressing or a sauce. It's amazing.
Tell us. Why do you love it? Why do you love tarragon?
I lived all my life with tarragon, and nobody's using it, and I have to tell people to use it. It's a wonderful herb that, it has that little anise flavor, which is not really anise, but it also has the black thing. I can't remember the name of it now. It's like a candy.
Oh,
yes,
licorice. Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes, licorice. So the anise and licorice together, and then you chop it up, and you have a little bit of onion taste also into it. It has a lot of different flavors, but it's an own flavor. And
unique, very unique.
Unique, yeah. I just love it. I mean, I do everything with it. Just the béarnaise sauce. I mean, it's one of the best sauce you can have.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Even with the asparagus, it's so good.
I totally agree with you. I mean, when I made this dressing, by the way, it does call for extra virgin olive oil as well.
Yes.
So you've got this combination of, the oil, the acid, the herbs, the Dijon, the Dijon mustard, the honey, garlic, Parmesan. Phenomenal. So, I just made that in like a little mini food processor.
Exactly.
And then this salad, you also call for 6 slices of prosciutto or another ham sliced thin. And then
even Parisian ham, cooked ham. That's even good too. It's a different taste, but it's also nice and soft.
It's a great combo. You had hard-boiled eggs also that you cut in half.
That makes the difference. The boiled egg, people don't know about boiled eggs. They eat them like that. But when you add it to a salad or whatever, it brings another level of chewiness or softness or whatever you want. It's just so good.
I wonder why, though, asparagus is sort of classic, right? Asparagus with a sort of salty ham and then this luscious, creamy, hard-boiled egg.
Yes.
It's like a magical combination. This salad just blew me away. And I actually served it on a bed of, you're welcome. I served it I'm a meddler. Like, I got to change things up.
Yes,
But I did follow your recipe. But then I served it on a bed of greens. Like, I did
nice.
bib lettuce, some beautiful bib lettuce I got at the farm, or you could do arugula if you want to kind of spice it up a little bit.
Microgreens is even better.
Oh, the microgreens.
Yes,
Ooh, ooh.
Those are even better, yeah. It goes well with everything, pretty much, on the green side.
I'm going to put this recipe. I talked to Melissa, who's your assistant, and she said, it's fine, Liz, you can make it, you could photograph it, put it on your website.
Sure,
so I did tease it earlier in the show. So,
you know what, it would be even better if you want to change the recipes. Instead of a hard-boiled egg, put a poached egg on top of it. That would be even better.
Yes. I'm like addicted to hard-boiled eggs, though. And let me tell you my favorite cooking method to get hard-boiled eggs. And you tell me if you do the same thing. I basically just take a steamer basket and I put it in a big pot. I fill the pot with like an inch of water, bring it to a boil. And then I gently lower the eggs into the steamer basket. And then I just gently steam. I cover the pot. I gently steam for 15 minutes. And then I rinse under cold water and I crack those open and the shells peel right off. I'm snapping my fingers. Exactly. That is like the steaming.
Yeah, it's very nice like that. I do them like that too. I boil them the same way you do. To have them softer, I boil them 9 minutes.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I know.
That's an American thing. We need everything to be hard.
I know. We're hardcore here in the U.S.
It's okay.
And you're much more soft and gentle in France.
I'm trying to be, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I love that recipe, and I just love asparagus. I love the flavor. I love all the preparations. Like, if you were going to, so we talked about blanching. What about grilling? Because I did have a question from one of my posse members, Jean, and she says, what's the best way to grill, especially the thinner stalks? I think people are afraid they're going to fall into the grill, right? They're going to burn.
No, you put them the other way around, turn them around. But if you want to grill asparagus, you have to grill them like a minute or two. Otherwise, they burn. They're too skinny to be staying too much on the grill. And you have to grill them, raw.
Yeah.
So you put them on there. Or what a better thing is, you put a little aluminum foil and you put them in there on top of the aluminum foil on the grill. So you cook them a little bit like that.
Oh, they won't fall through that.
Yes.
You wouldn't create like a packet. You would just put them flat on the aluminum foil?
Yes, flat on the aluminum foil. Or you take, the basket that you take for the eggs. If you have one for the grill, you put them in there and you grill them on top of that basket.
Right, a grill basket. So just a little olive oil, salt and pepper, and just
That's it.
A couple minutes on the grill, but not too long.
Not too long because they burn. Mm-hmm. They're too skinny.
And I like to roast them as well. So I'll just toss them with olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then I put them on a baking sheet in like a 425 oven.
Yeah, very high.
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes at the most,
yes, exactly.
Right?
That's what we do here, and we sell them like that. Roasted asparagus. That's how we do them here.
So I have this game I like to play on the podcast, and it's like that TV show Chopped where you get a mystery ingredient. So, okay, so here's your mystery ingredient. I want a dessert, and I want it made with rhubarb, because rhubarb is also in season.
Yes.
So what would you do? That might be something that kids would like, families would like, a fast, fun rhubarb dessert. Go.
Well, you can have a crème brûlée with rhubarb, which would be great, or then a compote with ice cream. Mm. So you can do both, actually. You take the rhubarb and for the crème brûlée, it's very simple. You take the rhubarb, you dice it very small, and you pour a little bit of sugar, and then you let it rest for a little while, for an hour. So all the water comes out of the rhubarb, so it's nice and soft. And then you take that rhubarb out of the water. It's not in the water, but on the thing. And then you add it in a container. You put the crème brûlée liquid in there and bake it. And that's your crème brûlée rhubarb. And then you brûlée the crème on top once it's cooked and serve it, lukewarm.
Yeah.
Or you can do a rhubarb compote. Everybody adds strawberry to soften it up, the sour taste of the rhubarb. But if you add sugar to it and you let it macerate, once it's done, you can take it out of the maceration and then just cook it like that. And then, saute it a little bit and then take some, like a nice, I love mocha chip ice cream.
Okay.
And then you put that on top of it. It's like, oh my God, it's like a I don't know. It's very gourmand.
Oh, very gourmand.
Or you have vanilla ice cream and you put it on top of it and you add a little Grand Marnier to it. I mean, it's like very nice.
That sounds really good.
That would be the two desserts that I would do. I grow, rhubarb at home. And what I do at home is a rhubarb tart. I do the same thing. I macerate it, take it out, put it in a pre-cooked dough that I made. And then I put, like a egg, milk, sugar mixed together with vanilla, and you pour that on top and you bake it just like that in the oven. And then you have a rhubarb tart, and you beat a little bit of egg white on top and put it on top and just bake it, and you have a rhubarb tartlet. It's so good. It's something we do in Alsace too, which is very, very nice.
I think you can have your own TV show, so we got to work on that. We're going to work on that.
That would be great.
Yeah. Do you have, I don't know, do you even cook from cookbooks? Is there a book that you have on your bookshelf? You just make it up as you go?
Yeah, what I do, my cookbooks are for ideas. When I get down, and I can't think anymore, I just take a book and go through it, and just to bring me back up. And then after that, I'll just leave it, and I start again to think. And I do my own thing now. I've been 45 years in the cooking business, and the last 15, 20 years have been the best one because I can just do what I want. And I know when something comes out of the oven and you can smell it and it's cooked, you can say, oh, I'm arrived, I'm here, I know what's going on or whatever. That's how I see things now. You know what an item is, when it's cooked, or what to do, combine things together, flavors together, and things like that. You don't have to look at the cookbook anymore to see, I need to do that or that. When I was apprentice in French for 3 years, and I was 13. So 3 years is 16. So when I did my 3 years of apprenticeship, and I got my exam, and I was okay with my exam and everything, so I became a cook. I didn't become a chef or whatever. I was a cook. The chef came to see me and he looked at me and he says, now you have time to start cooking because now you know the basics, but that's it. You know nothing else. So that will give you the start to be a better cook. Mm-hmm. And he was right. Mm-hmm. It takes 30, 40 years to be somebody that knows how to do whatever. It's like every profession, I think.
Right. It takes time. And
yes,
I've seen you down at the farm, even though, like I said, I haven't officially met you, but we will meet. But I see you, the farm does these festivals and you do lots of tastings. And I've seen you, demoing and passing out taste tests of things. When you have kids who come by, because there's a lot of little kids out there, for years who are super picky. And I feel like kids are getting more into food. Like we've got all these little foodies. Have you seen a change? Do you see kids getting excited about trying all your vegetable dishes?
I do cooking classes with kids. I do everything. Yeah, it does change. Kids are very interested in food. Kids need to be tried. The problem is it's the parents stop them. And that's where the problem is. But the kids is open-minded, and the child is open-minded. He wants to check, taste whatever he wants. And the best thing to have a child do is do his own cooking, so he eats everything that the parent will or whatever. But they are all interested in food and cooking, definitely.
So get them in the kitchen, start cooking.
Yes, yes. Yeah. They need to help you in the kitchen. They need to do their own dishes in the kitchen. I had 2 kids, and at one point, my wife says, they don't want to eat anymore. They don't want to do anything. I said, okay, let's try this. So I made all the vegetables and the fish and whatever, and then I said, let's do a dish together. So I took all the kids, my 2 kids, and I said, you guys are going to do your dinner. Guess what? They ate the whole thing because they did it, because they are part of the evolution of their dish.
That's right. Right. Yeah, I agree. And so for all the parents listening, when you buy asparagus, bring it home, wash it, and have your kids snap off the little inch at the end, that woody little inch at the end, and then you can all cook your asparagus together.
You can eat them raw too. You know that.
Yeah, and one of the recipes, I did a little recipe roundup on the blog, and Holly Granger, who's another dietitian, she's got these ribbons where she just peels and creates ribbons with vegetables. Shaved vegetables, and has just a little balsamic on top. And
it's wonderful.
Oh, some goat cheese. I bet you like goat cheese.
Yes, I do.
You do. And so yeah, you could eat, there's so many ways to eat asparagus, and we have to take advantage because it's in season. Hey, Chef, anything else you want to share about asparagus that we haven't touched on?
I just want to let you know that maybe you don't know that, but the first asparagus in the world, it came from the Egyptian and the Romans, and they were the purple ones, because those were the ones that they grow. And then Louis XIV tasted after the Egyptian and the Roman, of course, tasted the asparagus, and he wanted them every day through his reign in France, and wanted them every day in his meal. So he used to eat them with eggs and everything else, and his chef and his gardener had to find a solution how to grow asparagus in France. And that's how we had asparagus in France and throughout the world after that.
I love it. It's got a long, delicious history. Chef Ost, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, you're welcome, and it was a pleasure talking with you.
I hope you'll come back. Yeah, I'm going to meet you, and then maybe we'll talk zucchini in a couple of months.
Oh, that's a cool idea. Very nice.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
I hope everybody learned so much on today's episode. What a great wealth of knowledge from Jim and Chef Ost. I do hope they come back and talk zucchini in a few months. So let me know what you thought of the show. And of course, head on over to the show notes page. And I've got all sorts of resources and links for you there. If you like the show, feel free to post a review on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, thanks for listening to Liz's Healthy Table.